Okay, here we are. Disrupt healthcare and start a chiropractic lifestyle revolution. Does anybody wonder why do you keep showing the same slide? Because if this isn't your purpose, you're going to get stuck. You're going to say different things. That's it. When you disrupt, when you know you just want to disrupt healthcare, that automatically raises your standards. Okay, I got to mute all. Tim's talking too much. There you go. And that's it, because that's what keeps you going. That's what gets you through the hard stuff. It's a way bigger purpose. It engages your team, it engages your patients, and that changes beliefs. So the world is changing fast, man. I mean, it's changing by the minute. Are you going to become a healthcare leader? Creating leaders. What's that not? Creating patients. Okay. So here's the deal, gang. Am I going to say anything that you haven't heard before? No, but I would like you to look at it with a different heart, because that's everything. When you look at it with a different heart, then it gets in your heart. Now, am I going to say anything that you don't already know? Key word there, Susie. We talked about hearing the one word that you don't already know. What you know doesn't count. You got to forget about what you know. And so if this looks too familiar in knowledge, then I would encourage you to listen more with your heart and take that into your body. Because I'm sure you've heard what I'm going to say before. And here's our friend. Look, disruption's already happening, man. All you got to do is follow it. So, just a quick story. I was walking my dog and I was coming back, and our neighbors, it's a big, big house, but it's divided into 3 condos because we're near the beach. So, the people that live down below, they travel for months, and then what they do, they kind of Airbnb their house out. So there's this couple downstairs, older couple, they're in the mid 50s, own their own business. And so anyway, I'm like, hey, what do you guys do? Tell me their job. What do you do? Chiropractor, of course, right? And so, man, I have neck pain. She's going on and on and on. So what do? I give her the principle. I tell her about her spinal cord. She's been to chiropractors before. Typical story. I went through what I'm going to show you now. And all I did was talk about the principle. Did I go through a consultation? No. Did I need an exam? No. Did I talk about x-rays? No. What did I talk about? Energy, health, and healing. And the comment she made is, I'm going to turn 54 and I feel older than my age. So this is the oldest I've ever felt. And then, well, I'm nervous. What about cracking my spine? Because I offered to give her an adjustment. So what's the bottom line? What's your standard? So what did I say? I live on the top. I live in the condo upstairs. And so I said, I took her hand, I moved her over to the flight of stairs, and I said, there's 12 steps to your new life. Decide either you have courage or desperation. Either one will get you to a new life. And that was the meaning. Why? Because she needed to move emotion. That's what we talked about today, Susie. I saw her emotion. She got the principle. I told her, you need to fix your spine and you need to go once a week for the rest of your life. Well, how did I get like this? All the stuff we're going through tonight. And a woman went from being scared to she texted me about 15 minutes later and wanted to come up. And I'm not saying that's great, but what I'm saying is she knows medicine is messed up. This guy is creating it. She told me there's a movement going on in this country, in the world, towards more, she used the word holistic healthcare. That is what's going on. It's already happening. They are already looking. Now make nothing but big statements, and it's going to be easy. So 20 years, I disrupted healthcare. I studied from all these guys, went through this last night. And what are we going to do? I'm going to go through the 4 principles, the easy way. It's so simple. How we make lifestyle easy with only 4 simple principles. And I know that you guys know them. I get it. And we're going to take you to a different mindset, hopefully. So these 4 principles handle every question, every objection, inspire chiropractic lifestyle beliefs for families. Now, I know that you know this, but literally this drives everything, right? Why is there 4 principles in mindset? Why 4 principles? Steve Jobs. You got to simplify everything. Albert Einstein. If you can't explain it simply, then you don't know it. And that's pulling the weeds out of your mind of patient education. Patient education is not simple. Principles are simple. One-liners are, look at this. Simplify everything. 2 words. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's an explanation of what? A principle and mindset that says simplify everything. And again, today, I'm just using our call today, Susie, as a reference point. Like, well, there's so much details. No. You got to get in the helicopter, man. That's where simplicity is. What is it? Complexity is in the details. You can go through, you're processing details, but your interpretation, you're observing the details. You're not communicating the details. You're always communicating from the helicopter, but you understand what's going on in the details. You observe the details and you communicate from 1,000 feet, and people will understand 1,000 feet. They don't understand 10 feet, even if they say they want 10 feet. They're lying. Don't believe them. How many engineers have you had that showed up? Well, I really want to talk about this. And so you go off. Well, this is what I did, explaining all this stuff, and they walk out. So I did that once. And then the next engineer, I said, awesome. I freaking love mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, man. This is your body. Let's talk for an hour. Oh, by the way, it's $250. All of a sudden, they're not that interested. That was the last engineer I explained. So what's first mindset? Spine and nervous system is what's that word? Well, I muted you. Foundation. Why was this word chosen? Obviously, because that's the principle, right? So what are we going to do? Now I'm going to show you, okay, what are these philosophies and how does it apply to this principle? People don't buy products or services. What they don't buy, spinal correction. What do they buy? This identity. The energy is who they are. If they don't understand it as an identity, and you're going to know by what they say, what's their body language, did they just get an epiphany? Are they acting objectively? And what experience are you creating? So when I was down there talking to this woman, did I say any information than anything we haven't covered? Absolutely not. Where did I start? Nervous system is foundation of life without the body. Why? Because energy moves down there. That is your lifeline. That's what's keeping you alive and healthy. Right? So when her facial expressions changed. So what did I do? I changed my tone. I emphasized certain words. And she got it as that's who she is. That's what you have to do, because if they don't get this, they're getting everything. When you're handling objections, this is what they didn't get. They got to get this right in the beginning. People don't buy products or service, they buy a belief. This is a belief system. Now, you can say, well, it's a fact that it's universal law. Yeah, but if they don't believe it, it's not. It is. But if they don't act on it, right? So this is a belief system. Beliefs have emotions. So you have to elicit an emotion so this becomes a belief. Once they believe it, it's wired into their mind. That's what you're looking for. Otherwise, This is a great scripted sentence that everybody says and the front desk must say, but you didn't communicate it like it was an identity and a belief. That's how you handle all objections. That's how you affect generations. That's why they're going to ask you to bring their kids. They have to feel this is who I am, right? Associate your business with physics of the universe. This is the philosophy. You have to communicate it with the intention, with the intensity that this is a universal law. This is who you are. And you can even make that statement. If they don't get it, look, this is who you are. You are an energy being. You are life force energy. Energy doesn't get to matter, you die. Matters die. But guess what happens before you die? You get sick. So, being this just recently happened, I'm 54 years old, and I feel older than I am. I go, well, at your age, people are getting diagnosed, they're getting diseases, and that's when, they get sick and they're living sick. And she said, I know, like that's what I'm afraid of. But I know was not said with knowledge. It was said with despair. It was said with worry. It's not what they say. It's the emotion of how they say it. And it's the words. She felt it was truth. Spend money to make the product better. This is why they will invest when they don't have the money. Because who's the product when they get this? They are. That's the point. That's the whole point of this principle. They desire to invest money to make themselves better, right? Simplify everything. It's about as simple as you get. Leaders start with a customer and work backwards. Now, what is it? Because if they didn't understand this, you're about to go through their history in a consultation. So if they get this, then they also understand how they ended up this way. Now, again, I'm using this woman as an example because after I adjust her, she goes, how did I end up this way? Now, what did I explain to her? Look, here's where you were. Here's where you are now. I go, your torso now is over your pelvis. It was like this massive kink in the fire hose. You didn't have a lot of energy getting through there. Now you're straight as an arrow. You just turned your spinal cord into a fire hose of energy. And then what did she say? How did I get like this? Why would that question follow what I said? Because she got it. And it's like, if that's the truth, how the fuck did I? It should be a WTF tone. And that's what it was. Take ownership. Don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term results. What are short-term results? Spinal correction. Don't sacrifice the life that they have with spinal correction, a product or service. That is the problem. And that's a big challenge in elite because we're CVP. Why? Because we have a big standard. I think we need to correct subluxations. It's the only reason I started studying it. So what other principles? Start with what's best for the customer. What's best? To be who God created you to be. That's it. You don't know anything else. That gives you conviction. And subluxated, you are not who God created you to be. We work for God. We don't work for money. We don't work for a business. We don't work for a practice. We work for God. And when your intention is to make everybody live their God-given potential, they can't use anything else. And that's what I told her. Hey, the new model is energy healing, and chiropractic is the best form of energy healing. You have to have an optimal spinal structure or you're going to create disease. Find the gap between popular perception and reality. Do you need to say any more? That's the principle. The gap is the principle, That's why it's number one. That's why they have to get it. And that by their words and body language, you have to be convinced that they get it. And it's not just by their words. Because they say, I get it, I understand, it's the foundation. They could be repeating your words, but that doesn't mean they get it. Why? Oh, I'm not going to pay 25 bucks. Well, I didn't know it was going to be that much. They act like they get it, but if they have any objection, they didn't get it. Now I could get on I think Jose, that was our call, but I could get on, I can get on coaching calls. No, they got it. They said this. Then why did they object to money? Well, they may not have money. Yeah, but they say, look, I know this is my life, doc. This is what I need. I've had energy shut down my whole life. I've noticed my health get like this woman. I just turned 54 and I'm noticing every year I feel older and older and older than my age. That's a person that begins to get it. It doesn't mean she gets it completely, but if they're balking on time or money, they don't get it. They don't get it. And that's all you have to know. And so then you go into the 4 standard questions, right? What's that? Do you believe your spinal cord is your lifeline? It's got to start from the beginning. Principle 1. Do you believe you got a problem in your spine? It's causing stress to your spinal cord, shutting down the energy. Yeah. Do you believe that's caused your 16 health problems? Yeah. Well, do you believe it's getting worse every day? If you don't change it, is it going to get worse? And is it right now getting worse as you stand there deciding if you have time to live in the state of health or the state of disease? That's what I would say, black or white. That's being an owner, not a renter, because you are won by a believer. The revolutions are won by a believer. You're a believer. You know it's true. It's like a born again Christian or somebody committed to their religion. They are absolutely convicted, almost to the point where it's freaking irritating. Why? Because revolutions are won by true believers. Create true believers. But you can't water it down in any way. They got to get this first. Dream team. Hire and keep only great people. If they're not living this, communicating it, believing it, and taking that and creating messengers, you're not going to get there. Process, people over process. And that's inspiring and managing. You got to watch the experience, give them an experience, watch how they move, listen to what they say, and they have to convince you. It's not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to be an effective communicator. It's a responsibility to be convicted. It's a responsibility to have high standards. And when you have all that, you're going to say what it takes. Now, again, I'm just using this woman as an example because this is it. This is all I talk to her about. And then because of that, you got to find a chiropractor in your area. I'll help you find him. Here's what he's got to do. He or she's got to do. And then you have to go once a week for the rest of your life because you never took care of it. That's how you got here. You know you want natural healing. You know your body's breaking down. This is the one thing you're missing. And this is what you're going to add every week to the rest of your life. I spoke it into her. You know what she did? She nodded and she said yes. No consultation, no exam, no x-rays, no first one adjustment, because it wasn't about the adjustment. It was about the opportunity to make a life change. Sometimes we even focus too much on the adjustment rather than the shift in the belief system. I mean, why focus on one when you're going to get 2,000 or however many years they're going to live? Right? So here's more of the mindset. Spinal cord is your lifeline. Am I showing you anything? That word is a key word. Now, you could look at this as knowledge, but when you say the word lifeline, how do you feel? What's your tone? Are you automatically, electromagnetically permeating every cell in their body with the energy of those words so they feel it in the spaces between the atoms and in the atoms? When you say that word, if you don't feel like that, it's objective. It's not what you say, it's the fuel that you're saying it with. Emotions are transferred. What is it? Perspectives are now. What's that thing? I forget that slide. Influence is usually given. The highest influence is given to the one with the most conviction. Conviction does not come from words. It comes from how you feel about what you're saying. Life, spinal cord is life and health. Look at what word is first. If they don't get life, they're not going to get health. So a while ago, health is energy. Yeah, life is energy, then health is energy. You got to be alive to be healthy. So why am I saying it? Well, I know that you know that. But if you're not saying that with penetrating tone into their heart with that word life, they won't get it. The amount of energy, now the amount of energy in the cord will determine if you're in the state of health or the state of disease. You have to know that. Like, this shouldn't be something you think about. This should be something that's automatic, that rolls off your tongue verbatim. Now, why do we say the state of disease? Because they're going to remember what you said last. And this is the script we're adding into the pre-consultation, right? They have health conditions, but they only have one problem. And you know what that problem is? What is it? What's that word? Type in energy there. It's an energy problem, man. That's the only thing that you focus on. Certainty, absolutely. Way to participate, Mark. Great to have you back. They only have one problem, energy problem. It's the only thing you need to talk about. And that's the problem with CBP. Too much on the spine. It's why they quit. You have an energy problem. Now, why is that specific? Because when they have, and in the script, I know I've changed this, my fault. I need to go change every health problem area in the script, in the health condition, because they can go to a lot of places for a health problem, but they can only go to you for an energy problem, especially one that's caused by their spine. Spine is the condition leading to the problem. Why is this word important? Because this isn't the problem. Why? Spinal correction will solve the problem, and that's why they quit. But why do they have that condition? Because they never took care of their spine and nervous system. That led to the condition that led to the problem. And this is the way I talked to that woman tonight. I told her, you got an energy problem. Foundation of all health problems are an energy problem. That's why people get sick. That's why you're 54 years old. You never took care of your spine and nervous system. And now you feel older than you are because you have an energy problem. And until you do something about it, it's going to get worse. Man, the despair was like, oh shit. There was no hesitation. This is a solution to a world problem. Now, when your patients know this is how they should feel. Because if they don't feel like this, why would they be a messenger? And we don't create messengers, we create leaders, purpose-driven leaders, right? That's what we create. Thanks, Mark. If they don't look like they have an epiphany on this, they don't get it. Well, they said this, they don't get it. They have to look like this changed their life. Now, what was the statement I think that made a difference? I watched her tone change. What was I getting? Fear. Well, I don't know. I'm really scared. She was holding her neck. How many patients you have like that? What do we try to do? Information. well, chiropractic is really safe and it's going to be easy. She said, I watch these videos online and she goes like this, they just crack their neck. I started laughing. Why did I start laughing? Because she had such extreme body language. It's not that I found it humorous. I laughed, letting her think that I thought it was humorous, while my laughing made what she did ridiculous. I laughed intentionally as a pattern interruption. Why? Because I got to change emotion. When she did this, the emotion in her body was so extreme, she's not going to understand energy. So what do I have to do? I'm changing it that fast. What did I do? I laughed like that's so ridiculous. And here's what she said. So are you going to do that to me? I go, well, what you did? No. I'm not going to do what you did, but would you get adjusted? Absolutely. Would we turn on the energy in your body? Absolutely. Are we going to put you from the state of disease back into a state of healing? Absolutely. Well, I'm really scared. You got 12 steps to a new life. You decide. Done. 15 minutes, I got a text. Why? Because those things changed emotion. That's what we focus on. Steve Jobs, create a customer experience. Right? Now, mindset two. Nobody freaking told you. Now that they get, oh, look, we got another chat. Isn't that amazing? Rhonda, there you go. See it for them. Speak from your heart. Amen. Thank you for participating. So now let's go through this. Now you guys are going to go, why do we have to look at these? Repetition is the key to mastery. And I know because I get on coaching calls and a lot of people are moving in this direction, but you got to do zero this. Zero this. Look at people that disrupt industries. They're not selling a product or service. They're taking people to an unstoppable state. That's why I went to UBW twice. This is identity. Why? Because when their other chiropractor, MD, whatever, didn't tell them this, that identity was an identity of suffering. It was an identity of trust. It was that doctor should have told me. When you tell them nobody else told them, if they don't look like a little bit of betrayal, not that we want them to experience betrayal, but if they don't have a WTF look on their face, they didn't get the first principle. That's why they got to get that. When you set that up, this is going to have an emotional impact. And I'll show you why this is important in a minute. This is their history. That was who they were. What's day one, day two? The story of their suffering, of being subluxated. They don't buy product service, they buy beliefs. Now, if they believe the principle, then this becomes a new belief. What's the new belief? That I'm not going back. I'm not trusting a doctor that didn't tell me the truth. So what do they believe? I'm going to follow the person that takes time to teach me how to live a better life, to teach me how to heal a disease, to teach me the desires of their heart. That is a belief system. That's what this does. Associate your business, physics, and the universe. Shit, it's a principle, man. I mean, that's why they suffered, right? It's an energy problem. Spend money to make the product. This is why they will pay you. Why? Because when you say none of the other healthcare has provided that, told you that, there's only one thing they can do. And that's go to the one person that finally told them how they can powerfully change their life. Because anybody else that isn't helping them get better isn't giving them power. They're victims. Medicine is a victim healthcare. Simplify everything. Real fucking simple. You either did it or you didn't. Just like this woman. How did I get like this? Well, I didn't ask her about car accident. I mean, she had an uncompensated posture, so I did ask her about an accident. But I didn't focus on that. I wasn't doing a consultation. What was her one problem? 54 years, never took care of your spine and nervous system. Very easy. Very easy. Now, what did most of us do? Well, how'd you get well, you had an accident there, and then you grew up here, and then trauma. No. How many people have you listed the traumas and all of it, and they walked out? That's not it. That's complicated. That is not simple. They never took care of their spine and nervous system. They were never told, so they didn't do it. Right? Create insanely great customer experience. Look at the word he chooses. Insanely. That's so over the top. Let's go to yesterday's slide. Elon Musk believes every ordinary person can become extraordinary. Become insanely convicted to creating an experience that rewires them on the spot, that makes them want to change their life right now. It's the only time that exists. The rest is a story. Okay, what else we got? Become a great storyteller. This is a story of their history. How did their body degenerate? The progressive subluxation degeneration pattern, because nobody told them, because they had allergy shots when they were a kid, because then that turned into asthma, and now they have irritable bowel. Why? Because nobody told you you had a blown out immune system when you were 5 years old. And now that tire is rolled way down that hill. And now you have a diagnosis of what could potentially turn into a terminal disease. That should have impact. That's a story. Leaders start with customer and work backwards. So what's backwards that relates to this principle? Now, just funny. People go, why do you call it a principle and a mindset? Well, is it a principle or a mindset? Well, it is a principle, and the principle changes your mindset. So I don't know. If I put one, then I don't have the other. And I don't know. I think it needs both names. So you're forced with my perspective. Anyway, what's backwards? This is their history, the progressive breakdown of their health because nobody told them. And that's how you ended up here today. That is a story of their history working backwards. Don't sacrifice long-term for short-term. What would be short-term on this? This is their whole life. This goes back to the pediatrician, right? We're not just talking about right now, but we're getting it. This is the timeline that they're going to come to a decision right now. When you find out what you didn't know, there is only, we eliminate this, long-term result. Why? Because I'm not focused on repairing injuries in your spine. That's short-term. Customer obsession. Well, we know it's best for the customer that they go from not living a chiropractic lifestyle to living a chiropractic lifestyle. Like, how simple is that? It doesn't get any freaking easier. Anything that you talk about more than these two principles, it doesn't matter. These are the only two principles on day one, day two. Everything you say just comes from these two principles. And everything before that. What did I talk about with this woman? Two principles. Why? She's not even at a day one. So what am I going to talk about? Just these. Find the gap between popular perception and reality. That's what this is. Popular perception is what they didn't know that led to their disease and suffering. Reality is now that you know, how do you want to live your life? And we'll get into that next. People over process. Communicate in a way that when they're told this, they have a WTF moment. They're saying, I'm done. Now, what's another thing that I told her? I go, you're going to go once a week the rest of your life. You know why? Because when you do that, you will never need a medical doctor. I mean, other than trauma, we're number one in crisis care, saving your life from trauma. In healthcare, we're way down. You guys know that. So I say, once you do this, you don't ever go to a medical doctor again. Why? Because they never told her this. Why would she go? Conviction. And you have to create an enemy. Keith Kroc, $3.7 trillion. If you don't have an enemy, what are you going to rise up against? If you don't have resistance, energetically, we don't call it an enemy because we're all in God's world. Personally, when you look at who started pharmaceutical companies, the whole intention is satanic, in my opinion. So this is why you make strong statements. This is why I say don't ever go to a medical doctor unless you're in a crisis, right? Don't ever go to a medical doctor. In fact, that's what I told her. I go, we're number one in the country for crisis care. I go, so if your life is threatened, you want to go to the emergency room and you better go fast. So what am I doing? I'm aligning. And I go, but once you're out of that life-threatening situation, don't ever go back. And she laughed and she agreed. That's why she came up. The conviction and the confidence that she needed more energy in her body was why she developed courage. That's what gave her courage. Plus, she went down and talked to her husband. He goes, shit, what do you got to lose? Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, that's that. I could have said that. So what else? Because they didn't know, they weren't told that they had a belief system that you have to shatter. Why did they trust the other doctors? What were they looking for? That emotion is what you have to change. So we go back. Insatiable curiosity. We say, well, I don't know what to ask. Very simple. Tim's iPhone, right? Tim for 2 years was going to tattoo Y on his wrist. And that's the difference. Insatiable curiosity. Well, why would you say that? Why do you believe that? Why did you use MDs? Was that just because you thought you were supposed to do? Did you ever search out anything else? That's it. They never took care of their spine and nervous system. Now they have an energy problem with several health conditions. That's it. This is what you would say. This exactly. And again, I'm talking about this woman, but this is what I told her. Now, the reason I'm going through all this is not because I saw that woman. I go, gee, what did I tell her? No, I told her those things because this is already who I am. The message is a beingness. It's not a script. It's not knowledge. It's not anything. This, like all of you, it's in my DNA. This is the only thing that comes out. That's it. Why would I want to talk about anything else? I don't know. I don't have a reason. Hey, it's not your fault. And very key word. So sometimes people feel like, why did I trust those people? I don't want to feel like I'm stupid. I trusted them and I caused all these problems. And there's people that won't commit or walk out because they don't want to feel, pardon my language, like a dumbass. Why did I trust them? I did another stupid thing in my life, and they start beating themselves up. You have to watch their body language, watch what they say, and to cover it, you go, Mary, it's not your fault. Now, here's the thing. What would most people say? Why did I underline and? Because the word you 100% don't use is but. If you say it's not your fault, but you just contradicted that it's not their fault. If someone says, I'm sorry I did this, but how's that feel? Gee, I'm sorry I yelled, but you really made me mad. Yeah, is that an apology? So after fault, make sure you use this word. And would you agree? Why? If they don't agree, I don't know what they think. If you want you and your family to live healthy, would you agree this is your responsibility? Right? They have to answer that question. So I went through this. I was listening to Billionaire Mindset while I was working out. Robert Kiyosaki. Questions open your mind, statements close your mind. So what did I do? And would you agree? Right? If you want your family to be healthy, would you agree? Now, you could easily make a statement. Hey, if you want your family to be healthy, it's your responsibility. Well, they don't want to be told what to do. But you say, and would you agree if you want your family to be healthy? It is your responsibility. But would you agree turns it into a question. Now, why would I say it is your responsibility versus is it your responsibility? Because you would say, well, is it your responsibility? Sounds more like a question. Well, I'm making a convicted statement. It's a question, but would you agree? Makes it a question, but this gives it 1,000% conviction. It is, and is it doesn't sound convicted, but would you agree it is? Now that you know that, and you want your family to be healthy, and the foundation of all health is energy. So would you agree if you want to be healthy, you need great energy, then it is your responsibility. Everyone's going to say yes. Look at the difference between the word and it is. That is closer to an insane experience than it is a good experience. Now that they know that, are they compelled to live their life and take care of their family differently? If they are, you don't have to ask them to bring your kids or their kids. Can you see why, when people learn this, chiropractic becomes their primary health care for them and their family? And I could add for the rest of their life. Great question. So if they agree to this, this is the outcome. This is working backwards. This is the agreement you want to get on day one, and we're going to cover that tomorrow. You have to be 100% convicted to this. And then you create the experience, work backwards to get that result. That's it. How cool is that? Now, once they get there, you're at the end of day two. Great. How do you want to live? Now, end of day two, they have to take an action step. Now, if you have a 2-day system, you're maybe given time and money on day two, which we have a 3-day system. On day two, we give the requirements of being accepted as a patient. We have a whole patient application system. That's another whole thing that qualifies. We're not going to talk about that today. So, how do you want to live? Now that they know how they have lived, again, people don't buy products or service, they buy identity. What identity are they buying? Who they want to become. That's what this is. How do you want to live? It's not taking care of the spine and nervous system. That's product or service. Who do you want to be? Because you take care of your spine and nervous system. Associate your product or service with deepest desire. This is why We talk about their values. Then we're going to do 20, 30-year health and life goals. We're going to cover that on Friday. This I got from Business Mastery. Associate your product or service with their deepest desire. What are they buying? The product or service? No, they're buying their deepest desire. They just have to use that to get to this. It's the beach, not the plane ride, right? Create lifelong raving fans. Why? Because when you find out how they want to live, you do their 20 to 30 year health and life goals, you're going to get their values and their purpose. And then what's even bigger, if you can turn their purpose into a calling. People don't buy products or service, they buy beliefs. What are their beliefs? I got to take care of my spine and nervous system. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is my purpose. I'm fired up about it. I'm going to live an amazing life. And now that is deeply emotionally wired in their mind. Then they don't care about this because they have these beliefs, because they're fired up about it, because you give them their purpose, because they can live at their highest level and feel like they've done what they were called to do in this life, because they're living their deepest desire, they're going to become lifelong fans because of the belief system and the experience that you created. Wow, that was a lot. So can you see why these have to be subconscious? Why are you going over these so much? Because if you don't get this, then you don't understand the fuel of what creates that person. Now, I absolutely know. Do you guys get it? Yes, on some level. I know you get it. Definitely is knowledge. But getting this into your heart is why I'm going over this. Because now, when you get these into your heart as the outcomes, you don't have to think anymore. All you have to do is listen. It's so easy. Well, your system's too hard. That's because you want to think. But you know what? When you were a baby, there weren't a lot of thinking. If you get back to your childhood, you probably weren't thinking. You were feeling a lot. That's who you are innately. Associated with the physics of the universe, man. You know, you want to live the principle the rest of your life. What's the product? They are. Here's the product. They're living, they have their identity, they know who they are, they know what matters to them, they gain a purpose, and they have a belief system that never wavers because this is who they're created to be. Now, doesn't matter how much it is. They're gonna want to be that product. So how do you want to live? Simplify everything. I mean, do you get any simpler than how do you want to live? I mean, come on. It's like, here's how you have lived. How do you want to live the rest of your life? If how you have lived got you all fucked up, then how do you want to live the rest of your life? So now you create the experience, right? You become a storyteller. 2 stories, day 1, day 2, story of their pain. At the end of day 2 forward, story of their transformation. Everything is stories, right? Leaders start with the customer. So that means, how are they presenting on day 1? And then they work backwards. That's once you're clear on that, now you can say, how do you want to live? But if you don't go back into their history and identify the beliefs that led to the lifestyle, not their health problems. Not their health problems. Somebody write in, not their health problems. Okay, there you go. Geez, we're getting some participation here. Look at that. Mark, you're awesome. But it's the easier word, right? Neutralizing anything said before it. There you go. So working backwards are the first 2 principles. Now, until they get that, it's easy to go, how you want to live the rest of your life. Right? Take ownership. Don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term. What's short-term? Spinal correction. Well, here's how you got all fucked up in your spine. No. It's not about their spine. It's about the energy. It's about that's who they are. It's about they're done suffering. It's about they want to live their deepest desires and their identity. Leaders have relentlessly high standards. I don't believe, in my opinion, there's no higher standard than seeing a person as a child of God, and they may think they showed up with a wrist problem, a bent left pinky, a sprained ankle, whatever, but why they're there spiritually is they know they're subluxated. They came for the universal law of who God created them to be. And when you are unwilling to lower that standard, you are going to say bold things. But that's why they love you. That's why they don't want to go to anybody else. That's why you radiate an energy that they haven't experienced before. It's called a healer. It's called Christ consciousness. How do you want to live? Hey, start with what's best, man. Well, we know that already, right? Find the gap. They got to live a chiropractic lifestyle. Got to take care of your spine and nervous system. Be an owner. They have to be a believer or they're going to quit or they won't even start. And then now all of these principles have to be in your team as an identity. That's who they are, and as a calling, and then do it all together at once. People over process, man. Inspire and empower not only your team, but inspire and empower patients. What word isn't in inspire and empower? Educate. So that's what we talked about, right? If you love teaching, all the power to you, but you ain't going to love it near as much when you're staring at the back of their head, walking out, making excuses. There you go. Not their health problems, their beliefs. Exactly. You're getting it. This is an empowerment system. Got to have an enemy. Did I put that thing up twice? Nobody told me. When you establish how they have lived and they are done, they got to say, I'm done. I don't ever want to live like this. Have them look forward to their life for their greatest desire and purpose. So the first two principles, obviously lifeline, what you weren't told, they got to be like, I'm never going back. I'm done. I'm turning 180 degrees. And I know now that I know what my purpose is, now that I know what I really want to reach for, now that I feel that spirit yearning, ready to break out inside of me, I'm going to become unstoppable. Doesn't matter what it costs. I'll find a freaking way. And that's your job. You have to be unstoppable or you will not create unstoppable people. So I have a gentleman that's been with me for years and years and years. Chris, you probably know him. Jay Johansson. A couple of you guys probably know him. So he doesn't want to practice. Well, it's not that he doesn't want to, but he's got his associates in there. One of the first questions I ask, what's your spine look like? Because I'm going to show you what conviction is. I'm going to give you the principles, but if you ain't living it, you can't teach it. You're not going to understand what the heck I'm saying. And this is what I told him, pattern interruption. If you're not taking care of your spine and nervous system, you don't understand the principle. You don't get the first thing, foundation of life and health of your body. So if you don't get it, how are you going to make other people get it? If you don't do it with yourself, you don't understand who you are and your calling. So yeah, I'm going to fix my spine as fast as possible. How you handle all time and money beliefs. So what if people say, well, I don't have time? All right, 4 questions. Start from the beginning. Believe your spinal cord is a lifeline. That's carrying energy that keeps you 1, alive, 2, healthy. Yes. Believe you got a problem in the spine. It's causing stress to the spinal cord, shutting down the energy, putting you in a state of disease, and you have 18 different health problems. Yeah. Do you believe that's causing your health problems? Yeah. Do you believe it's going to get worse every day? If you leave it and you're in a lower energy, that every day that you're sitting there deciding how much time you have to turn your life around, that it's getting worse right now as you're sitting there. Now, what if they say yes to that? Well, what do you got to think about? How much time has to go by? Now it's like when they say that, then your ability to pattern interrupt, if you hesitate and you give some customer service statement, you just blew it. Because now, if they say yes to that, would be the truth. Well, how bad does it have to get before that's all the time you have? Like, do you have an idea of how much time that is? Do you have an idea what the diagnosis has to be? What's going to be the motivator when you're like, I have to change my mind and my priorities right now? Do you know what that is? Most people will say no. And you go, well, do you think that's important if that's the way it's going? Those are pattern interrupt questions. But if they say yes to all that, what other questions would you ask? I mean, I think if you can think of a better question, please let me know. I personally can't, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Hey, that's just what I would say. Create so much pain in their history. Why? Because how they live, their belief system, medicine for health, chiropractic for back pain, what they weren't told. What the heck? That's how they have lived. So much pain in how they have lived. They are going to move away from their past into the story of their purposeful life. That's why they change. When they do this, they're going to ask you about their kids. You've already talked to them about generational patterns. Create a vision for them that will make them unstoppable. Create a vision for them they will become unstoppable for. I don't know if that's proper grammar, but it's what I thought at the time. You got to create unstoppable people. That means you have to be unstoppable. And that's, on the billionaire mindset videos, that's what they were talking about. The only difference between billionaires, they're not any smarter. They just won't quit. And another thing they said was billionaires have a high tolerance for failure. Think about that. Like you think a billionaire, wow, what a level of success. They're a really successful person. No, they just got up 1,000 times more than you did. Not you literally, but that's it. Billionaires have a higher tolerance for failure. Geez, think about that, man. That's pretty intense. So that's how we learn. In fact, there was a quote, I'd have to look it up, but I won't take time on my phone. Is, and you know this, is great successes come from great failures. You're not going to have success without having multiple failures. So when you're learning a skill and you feel like you're overwhelmed, it's only because you're focused on your failures. And that's what they said. They go, billionaires don't focus on their failures. They continue to learn and they use their failures as opportunities to gain skill. Now, I just told you that, and you could definitely agree, and you could say, I know that. But where did you let yourself down? Why would you be stuck at a certain level? The only reason is you hit a glass ceiling on your tolerance for failure. And it's not that you failed, because you can be very, very successful. But if you have a vision that's greater than where you're at, then you have a tolerance and you'll do whatever it takes to gain the skill, which is why you're here. So thank you. You're well on your way to being a billionaires. Billionaires never quit. And that's it. That is a perspective. So, oops, this is going to be, what's this one? State number 4. Teach them how to use their body in a way that creates health rather than disease. This starts after they pay. Right? Oops. So let's see. I screwed that up. What did I do? I hit this thing. So these are, now this one uses all of them. Use their body in a way that creates health rather than disease. That's definitely identity, definitely their deepest desire. That's what creates lifelong fans. This is a belief system. How do they get sick? They didn't know how to use their body. They used their body in a way they got subluxated. Again, this woman, I always lean to this side. When I'm sitting at my computer, I always lean to my right side. She was translated, thrust translation to the right. And so I go, no, you lean to the right because that's the way your structure is. That is a reframe because what's she going to try and do? Well, if I lean to the left, maybe I can fix it myself. Massive thinking error. At the point I remind them that they have two problems. First, their health conditions, and the other is their attitude about their own health. Okay, so what we want to do is we don't want to make health conditions the problem. That's just the condition. So health conditions are from an energy problem. And then, yeah, their belief. Exactly. That's it. That they have an energy problem and a belief problem. That's it. So yes, great interpretation. Obviously, that's the universe. Really, this one is all of them, man. Everything that we've been through, I can go through all these, but let's back up a little bit. Let's go to this one. This is the story. Because what did they do? They used their body, what they weren't told, they used their body in a way that created disease. Now you're going to empower them, right? Where's the empowerment one? Let's go. There you go. People over inspire and empower. The more power that you give them, the longer they stay. 6 words that instantly create lifestyle. Flexion is death, extension is life. We live in a flexion distorted world. Get the Back to Health book. And that's it. It's about as easy as you can get. Now, this woman could play, well, I have neck pain. Look, you're sitting at your desk. What did I do? The posture all day is making you sick. Very simple. How you're using your body all day long is making you sick, and you're getting older faster than your chronological age. Boom, done. Is she going to think about it when she goes back to her computer? Absolutely. Why is this important? Raises their consciousness on posture, not just theirs, but everybody else's. Taking care of their spine, chiropractic lifestyle, and its relationship to what? Health and disease, baby. That's it, right? Shows them what they didn't know, that because what they didn't know, they ended up sick. That pokes, now what they didn't know pokes on uncertainty. Now there's a threat to survival. So your primary human instinct is survival. So when what they didn't know threatens their survival, because you told them, okay, this is so important, and I'm interrupting myself. You guys got to get this. What they didn't know threatened their survival and created uncertainty. And you are the person that told them that now they're going to associate you with the certainty of survival. Why did people stay home with SARS-CoV-2? Why did people get a vaccination? Why did some people not come to your office? Why did some people get vaccinated and not ask you first? Because you weren't wired in their amygdala. They didn't associate you with their survival. And that's why some of them didn't come to you first. That's a problem. Why? You never created an enemy. Why? You may not have told them what they didn't know that caused their suffering. Why? You didn't point out. You could point out the difference between a pain-based chiropractor and we just don't take care of pain. We actually correct the problem. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Stop talking. Stop thinking. It's much more impactful and wires into their fight or flight, into their survival. Well, did your chiropractor tell you this? Did they tell you that? Did they tell you that that injury in your back shuts down the energy, and because it's repetitive, not only was never corrected, but for 20 years while you had on and off back pain, that was breaking down your organs? Did they tell you that? No, they didn't. Would you have liked to have known that? Do you think that's important? Could that change your life and the life of your family for the rest of your life? Now that's wiring into their survival instinct. So when any other thing goes down and their survival is threatened, they're going to go to you. It puts power in their life and in their hands. More power, more retention. That's it. And that's what I learned. When I started doing this, my retention increased dramatically. Begin to notice their patterns. What they do is they notice their patterns and then they see those patterns in others, and that's when they refer. Because as new meaning, leaders with purpose disrupt healthcare and generations in their family. That's who you're creating. Leaders with purpose. And they have to know this because this is how they will live the rest of their life and what they will teach generations. They teach them the principle, and then this is the long-term application. There you go. Isn't that amazing? What was our timing? 7:06. There we go, gang. All right, stop sharing. So, I know that you guys saw everything you're familiar with already. And, I just hope that when you look at those principles, you care more about the principles than you do the 4 simple mindsets. Because when you care more about those principles, then only focus. When you care more about the principles that all the disruptors talked about, not the 4 principles, when those become in your heart and you care more about those, then the 4 principles are automatic. You don't have to think about them because it's the only thing you want to talk about. And it just keeps it easy. You got to take all those principles, the disrupting principles, and get them in your body and then understand them. And then implementing everything will be so easy. When people see it as a process rather than the principles to change mindset and the fuel that drives them, that's when they struggle. That's when they feel disorganized. That's when they get overwhelmed. So you'll learn the structure first, but the goal is get the mind. The faster you get the mindset, the easier it all becomes. And then it's automatic. Like I said, if that woman was in the area and she was my neighbor and I was practicing, she'd already be in lifetime before I did a friggin' pre-consultation. So anyway, there you go, gang.